Legislator Gilbert.
Here.
Legislator Sharpton.
Here.
Legislator Morahan.
Here.
Legislator Colzer's been excused. Legislator Osborne.
Here.
Legislator King.
Here.
And Legislator Dahlhaug.
Here, please stand for the invocation and the pledge. And if Legislator Gilbert would lead us in the invocation, please.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for another year to be of service to the community and for the sacred trust the voters and taxpayers have put in our hands. As we look toward the new year, we ask that you would grant us charity, empathy, and wisdom in our pursuit of the common good. We lift up to you all those in our community who are ill and earnestly pray for deliverance from COVID-19. Amen.
The pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Are there any amendments for the December 7th, 2021 board minutes? If not, we stand approved. Report of the Finance and Rules Committee per Rule 6. Cassandra, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Finance and Rules Committee has met and they recommend to waive rules to act upon late resolutions.
Need a motion? Lisa, second by Ron. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That carries. Privilege of the floor. We have a local law providing for increases of salaries for certain local officials. Is there anyone here that would like to address that? Is there anyone here that has any general comments for privilege of the floor? If not, we'll leave that open and move to presentations of petitions, communications, and notices.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A resolution was received from Cattaraugus County requesting New York State Legislature establish solar panel recycling regulations. A resolution was received from Chemung County opposing Governor Kathy Hochul's abrupt, secretive, and unsafe prison closures on public safety and economic and environmental grounds. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Back up the privilege of the floor for just a second. Is that a public hearing that we need to open?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll do that. Reports of county officers and departments.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Legislators received a report of an unsafe structure at 6324 Hemlock Road in the town of Watson from Senior Code Official Ward Daly. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Reports of standing committees. Tom, would you start us off with finance and rules, please?
No, I thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have nothing to report at this time.
Anyone have questions for Tom? Now we'll move on to Jerry with General Services Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Has some resolutions in the packet. Glad to answer questions as we get to them if there is. And I'd like to thank past and present legislators for the working with the group, the way we've worked together to accomplish stuff. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Jerry. Any questions for
excuse me.
Jerry?
Legislator King.
Whoops.
Oh, sorry. Yep. Monkey up the last one. Motion to authorize solid waste director Tim Turk to refill one full-time working supervisor position and all associated backfills effective immediately due to retirement. And the other thing, it looks like when solid waste is going to be completed sometime in February, the way it's going.
Okay, moved by Jerry, second by Lisa. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That carries. Thank you, Jerry. Andrea, Health and Human Services.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a motion to authorize Public Health Director Ashley Wade to refill one full-time public health specialist effective immediately due to resignation. And I'll
Moved
make
by-
that motion.
Moved by Andrea, second by Ron. Do we have any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
And at this time, I would like to ask Ashley if she would like to give us a report on COVID.
Ashley, would you like to
Yep,
give
I
us a report?
can give you some quick numbers. We have 120 active cases right now. Our numbers have trended down for the last 2 weeks. They're continuing to trend down this week. As you all know, there are now home tests quite widely available in the community. We were supplied roughly 2,000 home tests from the state for use in the schools. We have distributed them to the schools to distribute to families so that they have easier access to rapid testing. We are receiving quite a few reports of at-home tests being positive. Those are counted in our numbers that we report out on a daily basis. We currently have 9 people in the hospital. That is up a little bit from what we were averaging last week. We were about 5. So that number is something that I do keep an eye on closely. In regard to the additional at-home tests coming from the state, I haven't heard anything in regard to when that will be occurring yet. We are looking to change some of our policies in regard to test to stay to keep kids in school. What else? Oh, also in regard to the mask enforcement statement and money from the governor. I have yet to receive anything in writing in regard to that either. So I don't really have any any further information on that. We're doing quite a few of our homebound individuals, going out and getting them boosters. We've been doing that. We've been working with a few of our local farms to go out and again do boosters. And then we are not doing our large clinics this week or next week. We typically do them on Fridays. Those are both holidays for us, but we are taking appointments in our office for anybody looking for first, second, or booster doses. So that is all that I have to report. Unless you have any questions.
Any questions for Ashley? Dick?
Actually, I saw in the news yesterday or late last night, for those that have the 2 shots of Pfizer or Moderna and a booster, that they're talking about needing another booster for some of those people. Do you know anything about that?
I heard the same thing. I have yet to receive anything from the CDC or the New York State Department of Health or anybody other than a media source in regard to that.
Thank you.
You, I just had a comment. I wanted to thank the volunteers who were at the booster clinic a few weeks ago here in Lowville for doing such an excellent job, and for the workers too, and also the local school boards and Ashley's department for all the work they've done with the test to stay option. That's a big deal for a lot of families, so thank you so much for everything you've done on that, Ashley.
Yes, hopefully going into the new year we'll have more children in school, which will be great.
Great, thank you.
Anyone else? If not, we'll move on to Dick as the representative on the hospital board of managers.
The Board of Managers meeting actually lags this one this month. It's next week, so I will report out on that the first meeting that we have in January.
Thank you. Brian is not here, unable to make it. He's also on a state call at this point, I think, so I'm not sure if he had anything that he wanted to to report, but we'll leave that open for a few minutes, and we'll move on to the county treasurer report with Eric.
In lieu of Ryan's absence, Mr. Chairman, I could give you a 15-minute report on the state of the Yankees' upcoming spring training season.
Carry on.
I don't have any report. I would comment, we've had some great holiday cheer this week in the courthouse, and I think Cassandra Mosier and team, Amanda, Joan, Caitlin, really should be commended for bringing that to the building. That's it for me.
Any questions for Eric? If not, we'll move on to report of the Finance and Rules Committee per Rule 7.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Finance and Rules Committee reports that they have examined the claims presented for payment in the total amount of $869,559.65 and recommend that they be audited and allowed for the amounts claimed.
Need a motion? Dick, second by Jerry. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Carries. So, do you want to take a recess, 15-minute recess now, or do you want to move the resolutions with accepting the local law?
And the other ones that we have to vote on.
Yes, so the ones that I have to be pulled out are 339, 340, and then all of the late resolutions. I didn't know if anybody else had anything else that they needed or wanted to be pulled out of the slate.
Anyone have any additional resolutions they'd like to be pulled? Okay, motion to pass those resolutions as a slate, accepting the ones that were mentioned. Tom, I have a second. Lisa, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Slate carries.
Yeah. You got it. Everything's blurry though.
Except for me.
Classic. All right.
Not from our end.
You got that filter on it.
This is how we work.
Yeah.
Did it have anything to do with last night?
Hey.
Hey Ryan, so welcome to the meeting, and we're at the point where if you have a county manager report, we are ready for that.
Okay, perfect. Well, I just got off the phone with New York State on a few issues, so I think there's some things that would be of interest to you guys. So first of all, there's been a little bit of talk about the governor's announcement of $65 million going to counties for enforcement of the mask mandate. I know that's something of interest to the legislators and to the people of Lewis County. Here are the details that I just received. One, it will be $1 million for small counties like Lewis County. The state will be sending out a one-page document next week which has the full details of what the money can be used for. We will submit our quote-unquote plan and send it back to the state, and then they'll send us the money. It's not reimbursement based, it's just $1 million up front. It is for, the intention is to quote, help comply with the mandate, and verbally they've said the following items can be included under the $1 million. 1, education, supplies, signage, compliance line, and staff. So once we get more in writing, we'll have to come up with a plan that fits the culture and intentions of Lewis County, I think would be the way to put it. Probably more focused on education and supplies would be my guess than any type of complaint line or patrolling staff with businesses. And they did not really outline a case where counties wouldn't submit the $1 million, but I suppose that's always an option as well. So we don't have quite enough information. I know there was maybe some thought that we would have some discussion about it today, but we just don't have enough information from the state, I don't think, at this point to make a truly educated decision. The second thing is we've been working with the state Homeland Security Emergency Management. They have selected Lewis County as a high transmission area to put a state-sponsored testing site. To be clear, this is not something that the county requested. We actually have done quite well with testing, in my opinion. We set up the Maple Ridge site independently and paid for the test out of our own pocket for the citizens of Lewis County, which is something that not a lot of counties across the state have done. So I can understand how on paper the county looks like a place that needs assistance based on our positivity rate and our low vaccination rate, but I guess that I would say I understand where the state's coming from, but we're really not a place that's necessarily struggling to to put resources together. Be that as it may, the state is insistent upon opening a testing clinic here. So what we're working on with them is, which will alleviate our staff. There's 2 nurses that are there 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, from 11:30 to 1:30. We do have a shortage of clinical staff, in the health system. I think that's not a secret. And so, having those folks reassigned in a more productive role will be helpful. There's no doubt about that. So that is supposed to start sometime next week. Again, we're kind of waiting on more specific details from the state. They will be offering both PCR tests, which are the 3-day send-out tests, and rapid tests, which is currently something that we do not offer for asymptomatic people at Maple Ridge. So they'll be expanding the type of testing you can get there and potentially the hours of availability at Maple Ridge, but we have to work with Mennonite Camping Association on the details of that. So that's number 2. Number 3 is the state has purchased something like 35 million rapid test kits that they're distributing out to counties, and millions more N95 masks that they're distributing. So we have shipments coming in. I believe we already received a shipment of masks yesterday. Bob McKenzie received that. We're expecting shipments of tests through the holidays, I guess is how they're doing it. So, Matt O'Connor and Bob McKenzie will be kind of on call to make sure that we're able to receive those supplies. And then the goal is about half of the rapid tests will go to school districts. If you do the math, our share of the first 10 million rapid tests the state purchased would be about 20,000 rapid tests. The first, about half of those is supposed to go to school districts. The state should be putting out new guidance. They told us they'd have it by Monday or Tuesday this week. Now they're saying it's going to be Monday or Tuesday next week, but the state is hoping to have new guidance on test to stay protocols for schools. So we were kind of ready to go forward with our own test to stay program. We were working on it last week, and we put the brakes on because we didn't want to announce something and then have the state kind of supersede us, especially when no one's going to be in school the next week anyway. So we're waiting for the state to clarify their position on that, and the students will be sent home with rapid test kits, and if they are exposed at school or at home, they can use those test kits to stay in school and not have to quarantine and go to remote learning. So those are the 3 things that we've been working with the state on. Other than that, I guess that's it for now. So I'll take any questions or thoughts.
Any questions for Ryan? Ian?
Thanks, Ryan. I appreciate the update you gave us on the state aid, the $1 million that you mentioned at the beginning. I think this is something that we'll want to discuss. And it is interesting that it seems a little different from what we'd initially read, that maybe it's not strictly attached to mask mandate, but could be used for other efforts that we've got. Although I think $1 million seems like a lot of money to spend in a county with 27,000 people. And maybe that depends on how strictly we have to use it. My inclination is not to use a dime of state money to enforce a mask mandate, not because I doubt the efficacy of mask wearing, but because I think that we would need to grapple with the potential negative response that we get in the community from trying to do that. And I've heard from businesses where their workers are ready to walk out, if they're going to be forced to wear masks. And regardless of how we may feel personally, those are real challenges that people have to deal with in the community. This has always been an issue that we've had from the very beginning. But at the same time, if the state's offering aid and we can use it in a more focused approach that, as you said, takes into account our circumstances, our culture, what has worked in the past in our community, then we should have that discussion at the board level. So thanks, Ryan.
Yep.
Anyone else have any other thoughts, questions, comments? Okay, thanks, Ryan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
We can leave those resolutions open and we move on to some other business here. We have a couple of plaques that I would like to hand out. Jerry and Greg Culzers for all their community service. Jerry is here, and I would like to say thank you for all the community service that you have given to the county for the 16 years that you've been here. We haven't always agreed on everything, but I think we have worked well together. We've accomplished a lot, and I will say that anytime that you had a difference of opinion from what the majority of the consensus was on whatever the issue happened to be, that you, once there was a consensus, you followed it, whether it was your opinion or not. So you've been a very effective legislator, and I'd just like to say thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everyone has one last chance to razz Jerry.
Fire away. Might have to get on my bandwagon one last time too.
Well, this is it.
You're going, Jerry.
But Larry, I would like to answer it to Larry. Larry and I think become good friends. I mean, we've had our differences before. I got a good lecture from Larry before he was a legislator over something. But I've enjoyed working with him. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Jerry. Anyone else have any comments they'd like?
I just want to make a comment. The short time I've been on the board, I was on Jerry's committees, and we had some very good discussions on different topics at different times, and I appreciate working with him.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, we're going to need to take a 10-minute recess before we can finish up the resolution. So, 10-minute recess until 25:11. We'll move on with the individual resolutions.
Okay, the first one is resolution number 339, auditing and allowing claims in the amount of $869,559.65.
Any motion? Jerry, second by Andrea. Discussion. Roll call.
Legislator Chartran.
Yes.
Legislator Gilbert.
Yes.
Legislator Morahan.
Yes.
Legislator Burns.
Yes.
Legislator Colzer has been excused. Legislator Berkler.
Yes.
Legislator Osborne.
Yes.
Legislator Hathaway has been excused. Legislator King.
Yes.
And Legislator Dahlhoff.
Yes.
The next one is resolution number 340, a resolution adopting and otherwise treating local law number 1-2022. And this is a local law providing for increases to salaries for certain local officials.
Okay, so before we move this, is there anyone out here that would like to comment on this local law providing for increases to salaries for local officials, certain local officials? Seeing no interest, I will now close the public hearing and ask for a motion to move this resolution. Dick, second by Ian. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
This is a roll call.
Oops, sorry.
Legislator Gilbert.
Yes.
Legislator Morahan.
Yes.
Legislator Berkler.
Yes.
Legislator Osborne.
Yes.
Legislator Hathaway has been excused. Legislator King.
Yes.
Legislator Burns.
Yes.
Legislator Chartran.
Yes.
Legislator Colzer has been excused. Legislator Dahlhoff.
Yes.
The next resolution is number 367, resolution appointing member to Community Services Board.
Moved by Lisa, second by Tom. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
Resolution number 368, a resolution to set public hearing for public input with reference to community development block grant funding.
Moved by Lisa, second by Jerry. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That carries.
Resolution number 369, resolution to authorize I Love New York campaign matching funds and designate Lewis County Chamber of Commerce as the county's agent to supervise promotion and marketing of the campaign.
Moved by Lisa, second by Andrea. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Carries.
Resolution number 370, this is a resolution authorizing agreement between Department of Social Services and Laboratory Corporation of America Holdings.
Moved by Andrea, second by Lisa. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That carries.
Chairman Dahlhoff, I want to make a note, there is actually a resolution that is being withdrawn. I forgot to mention that earlier. That is resolution number 347, authorizing engineering services agreement between Lewis County Highway Department and Barton LaJudas for County Road 17 over Cobb Creek. That resolution is being withdrawn.
Okay, is there any other business? Motion to adjourn. Dick, Tom, all in favor? Aye.